she's been missing for the last, oh God, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Went on some sort of, did she go on some sort of religious retreat or something like that? I don't know. Did she have a toxic cleansing or something like that? But she's back. Jaqui Lane joins us now. Jaqui, are you cleansed? Have your thoughts, minds, and it's, what is it? What were you doing for the last 3 weeks?
Okay, so no woo-woo toxic cleansing here. I've spent 9 days in the Pilbara region of Western Australia on a hike.
What, did you do it by yourself or did you go with other people?
I went with a group of, well, my hiking buddy, my friend, and there were 5 or 6 other people. So it was a guided hike, and we went through the gorges of what's called the Hygiene National Park, which is 3 hours drive west east of Paraburdoo, which is literally in the middle of northwestern Australia.
Okay. And so you camped out each of those nights, did you?
Yeah, in tent. I mean, we didn't carry our own tents. There were tents set up for us, so it wasn't complete off grid. But yeah, camped in tents and ate camp food and did all that sort of stuff.
Did you have to cook your own or was that part of the sort of the trip that somebody else
Yeah,
did
it's
that for you?
part of the service. Yeah, I don't do kind of real camping as you say. I trekking. I do kind of not glamping, but somewhere in between.
Um, I'll come to the real question in a minute, but what did you eat? What in those sorts of things? Bush tucker or something nicer?
Yeah, yeah, no, we're not shooting kangaroos and living off the land. Pretty basic kind of meals, and I'm a vegetarian, so lots of salads and pita bread and protein, balls and all that, lettuce, normal food, normal food,
I have a
which is
massive aversion to camping for the next reason. Where did you go to the toilet?
okay. Well, this place did have long drops in kind of toilet facilities. They're pretty basic, but we didn't have to kind of squat on the ground, if you like. None of that sort of stuff.
Did they smell?
No, actually, Australia, I mean, maybe other parts of the world too, have actually developed some really good biodegradable kind of long drops, if you like, that operate pretty well.
Okay, because I looked long drops and my experience of them in New Zealand is it's
Yeah,
turned me off
yeah,
camping for life, just quietly. All right, okay.
yeah.
Well,
So,
did you? Okay, so you finished that trek. What are you
yeah.
trekking a day? What sort of distances you're doing?
Look, it depends because a lot of the treks that we did were down gorges and up gorges, so you're not actually necessarily walking a long way in terms of kilometres, but you are scrambling up and down rocks and going down into deep gorges. So some days we might have only done 5 or 6 k's, but that would have taken us 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
Another day we climbed up a mountain called Mount Bruce, which I am never going to do again. That was a horror. That was sort of 7.5 hours. Again, not so long, but quite steep, really rocky, and in the middle of the day when it's 34 degrees, it was a bit tough.
Okay. And listen, the other thing I've always listen. Please don't take this the wrong way, but um, I would have an aversion to going into the bush in Australia because of spiders and snakes and all those sorts of things. Did you see lots of those, or have you got sort of good survival
Uh,
mechanisms?
yeah, look, not everything kills you in Australia, but
Oh, I
some
just
things do.
assumed that they did. Okay.
Um, didn't really see. I think I saw 2 snakes, but not dangerous. Didn't see really any spiders. The dingoes you could hear, but you didn't see any. No, wildlife, birds mostly. Nothing on the ground that was going to attack us.
Okay, that's pleasant. That's good. I'm just looking now at Mount Bruce, or it's got a Aborigine name. What is it? Runha. Punu Runha.
Yeah, yeah.
It's West
Pupunarana.
Australia's. It's West Australia's second highest mountain. Um,
There
is
you
it a
go.
mountain? Its elevation is 1,234 meters, so that's not very high. But I assume, as you say, you climbed it when you had 34 degrees of heat. No, they see that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't particularly like heat, but in that part of the world, even at this time of year, that is pretty standard. So I think for the whole time we were there, it didn't get under 30 degrees. And so you have to be up and out early because, come the middle of the day, it is just too hot.
Okay. Here's the next question. This is the other reason I don't camp. Where did you wash?
They had quite good bush showers. So again, this was a tent camp setup that we went out and back from every day. So so yeah, all pretty good,
Okay.
and yeah. So it's again, it's not the kind of rugged camping on your own kind of thing out in the middle of nowhere. I don't particularly want to do that. So I've kind of found a nice kind of halfway point.
No, fair enough. Okay. All
But
right.
it's pretty basic. It's pretty basic.
Now, while you were out there, the last time we talked to each other, I think was, yes, it was. It was the Friday before the election, the Australian
Yep.
election. And you said it was going to be close. Wow.
Yeah, I did. Got
Eh?
that wrong.
What the hell? Mind you, you weren't the only person saying that. You were, and I guess you were relying upon the polls of the time and things like that. Listen, I know what the results were, and they would suggest that there was a landslide to Labor and that the Liberals and the Greens got dealt to. But then I went onto the Australian election website and had a look at the primary vote for all the parties.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that tells me a completely different story than the landslide in terms of the electorate seats, doesn't it?
Oh, totally, totally. And I mean, it is what it is. But as sort of other commentators here are saying, I think Labor got what 34.5% or something of the primary vote. If you look at the sheer numbers, yeah, it's not a landslide. If you look at the seats, yes, it is. So interesting.
And that's just the
Sorry, I
vagaries
can't.
of the preferential voting system you've got over there. Um,
Yeah, and yeah, I think that it's also just a bit like the American elections for the presidency. How votes convert to seats and all the rest of it. So Labor's on 93 seats right now.
Yeah, remarkable. Listen, the other thing is the Greens got dealt to. Well, you say they got dealt to, and again, I looked at their primary vote. I think it was hovering around about 12 or 13% for the first preference vote. That's not dealt to, is it? That's quite a strong political presence in Australia. They're just not going to be
Well,
represented, it seems, in Canberra.
well, they will be. They'll be represented in the Senate. So again, you need to look at the Senate to understand the flow of the primary votes. So the Senate is where the games will be played going forward, and so the Greens will be definitely represented in the Senate, as will the Independents and the Libs. So at the House of Reps, yeah, a lot of seats to Labor, but we've got two houses of Parliament, so that's where it gets interesting.
The I again I because it's quite a complicated system. The Australian elections. I then went and tried to look at the Senate, and the Senate, which is your upper house. We don't have one in New Zealand, thank God. The Senate then breaks itself into states, doesn't it? And it determines
Yes,
its senators state by state. Is that right?
correct.
And in New South Wales, for example, I'm looking at the result, and I have they actually got all the results now for the Senate? Do they know who's won, who's got elected, or is that still in
Um,
process?
Mostly, there are still two seats that are too close to call, and that's Goldstein and Bradfield. And Goldstein is a fight between the Liberal Tim Wilson and the Independent, and there's 300 votes in that at the moment, and they're doing some final postal counting. And in Bradfield is a contest between a Liberal and an Independent, and there's 43 votes separating the two. So anything under 100 votes, it automatically goes to a recount. So we've probably got probably another week until the final result is known, and then the final Senate seats can be allocated. But they're probably 90% to, well, 95% to where they're going to be for Liberal, Labor and Greens. So we're almost there, but not quite.